Morning. Happy 11/11, you guys. Man. What a life, I tell you. Oh, well, plants are hanging out for this one. Here we go. Hey, Juliana. Good to see you. All right. So the sun's in my way here. I just want to make sure we've got everything hooked up. Good to go. Mainly what I wanted to talk about on today's call is integration, the integration process. I actually had something planned to just talk about entheogens as a whole today on the call, and I couldn't bring myself to write it all out or to talk on it before first talking about these important steps of just integration as a process. I realize, I talk a lot about, or have in Instagram posts a lot about, like, how to work with different doses and the benefits of working with mushrooms, the benefits of working with Cambo and all this. And the truth is that there's no one medicine made for anybody. There's no magic pill or magic cure or magic medicine, even coming from nature, that is for everyone. This is such a bio-individual process. There are over 144 types of psychedelic mushrooms. There are even more that are culinary, and even more than that that are dangerous and even deadly. There are hundreds of psychedelic plants and fish and amphibians and such as well that can be very beneficial to some people. There are some things like DMT that our brains naturally produce. Our bodies have these activating centers and even create these chemicals on their own for a really good reason. I mean, we don't have to go anywhere to be using. It's an old joke that Terence McKenna had, which is that we're all using. What's the point of a war on drugs when we're all using, we're all carrying, we all are creating DMT and other chemical compounds that could be considered psychedelic and even illegal at any given time. And I think the most important part here is coming back to that integration part of the journey. It is the integration part that is most important. It's finding out what is your intention, what is your calling, what are you being called to. There is a specific medicine that will call to you. Maybe it's psychedelic, maybe it's not. Maybe it's something simple like coffee or cacao. Those are also psychedelics. Yerba mate, psychedelic. There's also a lot of other things that could be calling you. Maybe adaptogens, maybe meditation, maybe yoga, maybe a float tank. This doesn't need to be the medicine. Maybe it's tobacco. Maybe tobacco is a really big part of your life. So now that you know what it is that you're being called to, what work is yours to do in this realm? Start with the basics. Start researching. Why would you be called to this medicine? Why you specifically? Maybe that leads you to ancestral work. Maybe instead that leads you to find what are the health benefits or the spiritual uses of this specific medicine or food or practice. We were talking about practices of yoga or mudra or meditation. Maybe it's a practice, maybe it's a substance, who knows? But again, make that individual for you and do the research. Find what works for you. Not every part of it's going to resonate, but something through your research will resonate. And from there, you're going to need to start figuring out, okay, well, and now here's how the ancients use these medicines and ceremony, or use these practices to help them achieve success, help them tap into their dharma, their purpose in life. So again, you're finding what resonates and what doesn't. Take what resonates and build off of it and release the rest. So, I take some time through the research phase. When I make a decision on something that I'm going to change something in my life, I'm doing that around the new moon. Then I have a couple weeks to do that investigation, to put into action steps and actually start experimenting in person with these types of practices or protocols I want to implement into my life. And then come the full moon, I'm able to release again what's not working so that I have more space and room to optimize on what is working. This is part of the cyclical alignment. This is a really big part of my integration process, which, if you're new to elemental growth, you can learn all about on our website, elementalgrowth.org, or my book, Be the Change. Jumping into all this on cyclical cycles. But I think coming back here, it's knowing, okay, how is it that you're going to make your own ritual, your own routine, your own protocol? What is it that you're going to follow? What's your experimental action plan? Because everything's experimental at first, and your chances are you're going to fail at first too, in hitting that intention, in manifesting that thing that you want. Maybe it comes at a different time, or maybe it comes with a type of sacrifice you weren't prepared for. There's always this learning curve, and so leave room for that. Don't have any expectations. Say what it is that you want, but then don't tie yourself to any one result. Allow yourself to be a learner here, and master what that's like, to always be learning, to realize that life is cool, and that it is part of the journey, and it is part of success too, these kind of failures and these types of learning experiences that we go through. So then once we know what medicine we're called to, we then know which ceremony or type of ceremony that we want. We have set an intention of sorts. Then you have the experience. This is the birthing or the rebirthing part of it all. And, in the actual birthing community itself, this is what everybody's talking about. Let's say you were having an actual baby, the whole 9 months of preparation, yeah, you are preparing and doing a little research and getting some stuff, nesting a bit, but the main thing you're thinking about is, I'm going to give birth to this baby. And it's the same with psychedelics. The main thing you're thinking about is that experience of 6 hours going into the abyss, and not as much thought comes into what is life going to be like after you have this baby, after this rebirthing process. What's life going to be for you? How do you get back to the basics and reparent yourself after this experience? How are you going to parent a baby for the however long you're going to breastfeed, for the teen years, for the adolescent years, for the your time to be an elder, where your kids are all grown up and maybe even having babies of their own. And what's that look like for you? What does your life look like after this experience? And it's really important to come back to basics. There's a few cliches that I like using in my life, and that's what I do today with effort, I do tomorrow with less effort. There's also one by Albert Einstein of make things as simple as they can be and no simpler. There's one by John Lennon, there's no problems, only solutions. And that led me to use the affirmation of, for every problem, offer 3 solutions. And I challenge myself to that every single time. And, cliches are cliches for a reason. They work, they help you enjoy this process because, you know, the psychedelic experience itself, working with the entheogens, knowing what the entheogens are, it's not as important as what your life is going to be like after. You know, when you're actually doing the work, yeah, sure, now you know what your dharma is. How are you going to make it happen? How are you going to fulfill that for yourself, for everybody who needs your help? You know, and that's a lot more pressure than just, you know, 6 hours in darkness, or 6 hours with a mushroom, or, you know, yeah, it's it's definitely one of the most important steps, and so often it gets um it gets forgotten about in the search for the actual entheogen that you want to work with, or the actual medicine, or the actual practice. You know, and this is something we need to do with yoga, what we need to do in all areas of our life. You know, if breath can create DMT, then the integration work needs to be happening in our everyday life, especially for those working and doing breath work and doing yoga work, you know, and probably even more for those who aren't doing any of these things yet, but they're not at the point yet, not with the awareness yet that you have, which is why it's more important for you to be doing it, because it has a ripple effect and it will show others more importance here. So lastly, here in today, I think I want to just tap into productivity, into having a morning routine. It's very important, especially around seasonal changes, and I prefer to do this on the new moon, which today just happens to be. So of course I'm gonna bring that up here too. And yeah, we're still feeling those powers of the new moon, you know, that dark side of the moon where we're doing this really deep shadow work. And it is a time of reawakening, reawakening our dreams, renewing our life, starting a fresh start. You know, it's time when you can look up at the sky and you don't see a moon. So it's like a blank, sparkly canvas. You know, the stars are sparkling, but there's not so much light. You have the opportunity to create your own light, to create whatever it is that you want, to focus in on those stars and those sparkles and those angels that are looking down on us. And having a morning routine really gives reverence for the days that are ahead, gives gratitude, and it shows gratitude to the universe, like, you know, thank you for giving me another day. Here's what I'm willing to do. Here's the work that I'm putting in. It starts your entire day off with momentum. One of the most important aspects, I think, is working on building muscle or doing some sort of a workout of sorts to release some of the cortisol, as well as you know, any old emotions that may have come to, you know, because sleep is a time of rest and digest, right? And what happens when we rest and digest? We release. So normally that would be like in the form of, you know, it could be journaling, but it could also be, you know, a number two on the toilet. You know, and this is the same kind of thing. If we're waking up and we're working out, then it also gives us the opportunity to release through sweat, and it will release any stagnant emotions through sweat, um, just through movement in general, creating energy. That's your energy body. It's releasing through your energy body as well. Um, and you know, you can be doing this with journaling work and stuff too. If you're doing any coaching programs with me, you know that we do a Trinity text. Very often that's like the emotional colonic. And you can do this in your journal too. Just write down what your fears are, what automatic negative thoughts are coming up. From there, you move into gratitudes. You know, once you get everything out, you can start filling that space with the stuff you've been successful for in your old life. You know, I'm grateful I wrote a book and that it's published, and I was able to do that because now I know that I can help somebody else get their story out. And because I can continue sharing my work in this way that is actually quite enjoyable. And I mean, even if I didn't enjoy it, I think I would have just still been grateful to have the opportunity when it came up. And, for anybody else, this is going to be, very different. Every day I have different successes and breaks that I write down. I mean, sometimes it's the same, but sometimes it's different, depends on where I am. And I just encourage it as a practice to not only get out all the things that are no longer serving you, like automatic negative thoughts, like fear work and things like that, but then also bringing in what are these positive things that are helping us, what are the things that are working, and then lastly, it's what action steps are you going to do. And if you can write these things out every single day, get them to an accountability partner, a friend, someone even in our community, you can find accountability partners in there. But if not, if you're not in that place, and just get it out in your journals. That's honestly how I've created my programs, how I've created just about everything, is that I take my journals and I give them a purpose. I write down everything that I need to, but then I put it into action. I literally burn them at the end of every season because I don't need it. I don't need any more shelf help. I like taking the self-help and putting it to work. I don't put it on the shelf. I give it a purpose. And that purpose usually comes into like creating uh different programs, different journaling prompts, sometimes turned into books or articles, sometimes turned into affirmations that I can use in my life, and sometimes it's just burned because the purpose was honestly just getting it out of me, and now that purpose has been met, and now it can transform and turn into smoke and then ash and then have a new start, a new life as something else. So a few more things when it comes to just morning work, morning routine, because morning's the most important if you want to be productive in your day. So I am putting emphasis on this for sure, but also want to add in that, setting intentions for your day. I honestly believe setting intentions for your day starts the night before, but regardless, rechecking in when you wake up after you've slept on things, it will help you refocus. So I encourage that in the morning too. Hydration, that's the number one thing before anything. That's before having a coffee. That is before running. That is before any kind of a workout. That's before doing anything for the kids. That's before your journal. It's number one because it wakes up your organs, including your brain, including your heart, including your elimination organs, so that you can release in a good way, right? And if we're going to add in the workout and start habit stacking, this is a great way where you're going to get the most out of that work. Another one is affirmations, and I've been talking to Tristan about this too, is, we make affirmations for you guys when you're in our groups. It's one of the things we do with your Trinity text, why it's so important that you get them into us. But here's the thing, he's waking up in the morning and wants to get the kids breakfast, and then the affirmations get forgotten about. This is one of those opportunities for habit stacking, just as an example, where you can put headphones on, listen to the affirmations as you're drinking water, making breakfast. It really helps. Then following that, it's like, go jump on the trampoline, go do what it is that you need to do. And the more consistent you can be with these things, the better it's going to be in the long run, especially if you're a parent. But it's good for you, even if you're solo, completely single, this is so beneficial to just be as committed to yourself as possible. Do this because your body needs it, because your mind needs it, because it nourishes you. The more consistent you can be, the easier it's going to get, right? That what you do today with effort, you do tomorrow with less effort. It also invites more opportunity for failure. You are going to mess it up. things are going to take precedent. And on those days, you get to examine, see how far you've come. How long is it going to take for you to get back on track? Hopefully less time than the last time you messed up. You know, it doesn't mean stop. It means keep going. It means stay consistent. And the more you can show the universe that you're staying consistent, the more rewards you're going to get. Right. Lastly, I just want to encourage you guys to do a visualization. You know, like Terrence McKenna said, if you don't have a plan, you fall into somebody else's plan. So if you can have a visualization for your life, for your day, it's all going to go a lot smoother. That doesn't mean stay attached to it and be upset if things don't work out. It means you have a plan and you are going to stay accountable to that as much as possible. And that if it doesn't happen, that's okay, because there's always room for error. There's always room for better. There's always room for lessons. There's always room for love. And what's most important is coming back to your commitment to yourself and staying on track anyway. Sometimes your visualization will be something in the future. Sometimes you'll have a different visualization for each action step. For example, if I'm going on Instagram, you know, to connect with somebody or to answer any DMs or to do outreach of any sort, want to connect with somebody on my terms or anything like that, the visualizations I'm doing immediately is turning into Xavier off of X-Men. You know, it's the number one most natural thing that I do because I've been so consistent with it. It's I'm here to connect with the other mutants, to find them and to help them. You know, because it's a scary world alone. And when you're going through changes and working with things like psychedelic frogs and fungi, you know, it can be a scary place. And so my job, since I've gone through that, you know, I'm still going through it, but, you know, but I have more experience, 18 years working with mushrooms, when some people, you know, have just had their first experience in their 40s. You know, my job is to find that person and help them. You know, this integration piece is the rest of the story. You know, the introduction is the experience. The actual story, the actual book, that is the integration. And that's where I'm there to help. You know, like Xavier putting on his cerebral helmet, finding the other mutants. You know, I'm doing that same thing when I'm going on Instagram, which is not necessarily how I want to spend my time logged into the internet or anything like that. But here's where the benefit comes, is the connection from each one of you that I've met through that outlet because of that intention that I've put into it. And that's why it works for me, and why I've been able to find clients with very few following compared to others who are, you know, have, you know, 17,000 followers and have never connected to any single one of them. You know, I'm connected to every single one of you because of that intention that I put in. And that's the same intention that I put into my cooking when I'm cooking it with love. You know, I'm visualizing that I'm infusing that with Reiki energy, and that every single bite is going to infuse people's taste buds with yumminess and infuse their body with nutrients and love and positivity. You know, these are just some examples, but the visualization process is really powerful. It is our imagination. You know, start looking into, you know, some of those old guys, they knew what they were talking about. Einstein, you know, talking about imagination. You know, we talk a lot about consciousness in the psychedelic realm, but why not creativity and imagination? You know, this visualization piece is so important. It's something that Napoleon Hill, um, you know, he talked a lot about auto suggestion. There was a big component where he was talking just about imagination and visualization too, where he would go to bed at night and have a meeting with all of his mentors and role models. It was his nightly like conference. I can't remember what he called it. He might have called it a mastermind. But he would have this meeting, and it kind of when I was reading his work, it was kind of reminding me of Harry Potter when Harry Potter is up against Lord Voldemort for the war, and Harry Potter knows that, you know, only one of them is gonna live through it, and he goes and he's all alone, and he goes to face Voldemort, and all of his parents' spirits show up, and other people that he's lost in the world, they all start showing up for him, and they're all there, and he's able to have this conversation with them. That's what I was visualizing with Napoleon Hill, is them all coming to comfort him and to stay with him and to help him and to give him advice and to help him be brave. These kind of visualizations are so helpful in our life. They help you know that you're not alone. They help you figure out what that future is. And you know, even though Harry Potter thought that he was walking into like, you know, his fate of death or whatever, you know, at the end he still left room open for better. And what happened was better. He lived. You know, a piece of him died, a piece that wasn't helpful, that wasn't for his future, and that's okay. On that, you guys, I'm gonna let you go. Might go watch Harry Potter later today. It is supposed to rain. Maybe not. I think I had enough of the TV on my sick days, but I love you all so much. I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.